All right, good morning, everybody. Trendy John here at Simpler Trading. We are going to go ahead and go over this week's broad market analysis. It's looking a lot more exciting as we get closer to some of the names that I'm interested in reporting this week. And believe it or not, the IWM RTY futures look to maybe be headed into a new all-time high, but it needs to get over certain levels. And we'll go over that here shortly. And then also, as a reminder, I'm headed to Vegas this Wednesday for a celebration, and we will return on Saturday night. So, Melissa will be here with you. I'll be with you in good spirits, probably checking out the market every once in a while, but I will not be on the mic or anything like that after Wednesday morning. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we'll be covering tonight. Futures open up here Central Time at 5 o'clock, so we'll be going over some future charts here in a second. And the dates are the 20th into the 25th. And as a reminder, leaving on the 23rd on Wednesday. Let's go ahead and take a look at this week's major U.S. economic reports and Fed speakers. You guys can see here, we went over this on Friday morning, but I'll go over it again because I do think it's important for you to understand that we want to be aware of these catalysts and just understand that they can create volatility in the market. Now, the nice thing about supply and demand trading is we're not sitting on our hands waiting for news to come out and then taking action. As a matter of fact, while we're sitting here, let me just kind of show you what that looks like. When we identify supply, we're using structure on the charts, and we have lots of videos out there to help you. And when we're creating demand, we are looking for structure as well. If you wait for news catalysts, the problem is, and I'm just going to give you a hypothetical here, and it happens a lot. The news catalyst comes out. Let's say it's job numbers. Let's say a Fed head is speaking. That, whatever they say, the numbers that drop, they can create price. Let's just say prices here price drops into a demand zone. We've already identified these levels. We've already taught how to trade these levels with confidence. And so we take action at the levels and then we look for moves to go up like this. And then we're trimming, we're taking profits and so forth. Whereas the majority of traders sit on the sidelines and then they're trying to make a decision somewhere in this mark and even sometimes here. So they'll take the information, they'll feel bullish, and by the time that they feel bullish, they don't realize that price is actually pushing into supply. And then as soon as they take that trade, they get some kind of reaction like this, and they feel like the market's rigged. You guys know how it is, all the nonsense that's out there. So again, I really, really strongly encourage you to start learning how to trade supply and demand if you're not already there and at least incorporate this into your style of trading. Okay. So again, these catalysts coming up Monday, October 21st. You guys can see we have a lot of Fed presidents speaking, U.S. leading economic indicators, and again, two Fed heads speaking here. Tuesday, same thing, Fed head. Wednesday, Fed head. Existing home sales, Fed beige book. Thursday, it gets a little bit more interesting as we have initial jobless claims, and then again, Fed head PMI, that gets interesting. So again, Thursday looks pretty good for some sort of volatility in the market. And then Friday, durable goods minus transportation and consumer sentiment. The next thing that we'll be looking at is going to be earnings for this week. And for me, I like to come over here on X and I use Earning Whispers, and you can follow them as well at eWhispers. And this is great information. I just click right here, take a look at what is coming up. This is important as well. These catalysts push price into supply and demand. I look at it just like I just explained to you. I will actually trade into earnings. I love to use technicals. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to come in here and trade 20 names this week that are reporting, but usually what I'll do is find a name on here that I personally like that, good moves such as Tesla. We have Tesla on here, IBM. There's several names on here that are reporting this week that I really like. I'll look for supply and demand. I'll look to see how close we are to one of those. For example, if we're close to a demand zone, actually, I'm very bullish into the earnings and I'm looking for prices to push up into supply and so forth. I also like to use debit spreads because it's a low cost, it's a low risk, and you get high returns. So this week, far as names go, starting on Tuesday, 3M, RTX, Texas Instruments, GE is right here. On Wednesday, super exciting. We'll see what Tesla can do. Lam Research, IBM, AT&T, Boeing, Coca-Cola. You guys can see there's a lot of great names here. So it really starts to speed up this week. I'm hoping we can get out of what I feel like is purgatory for the last several weeks. Yes, we've had some decent moves, but there's actually been a lot of premium crush out there. And yeah, I'd like to see some sort of bigger move this week. The next thing that we'll be looking at is SPY, the bigger picture. We're going to come over here. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way. Actually, we're going to keep that right there. SPY on the quarterly, this is what we're looking at. Big picture, every candle represents one quarter. You guys can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters straight up. This is absolutely insane. But, this is the chart that you want to pay attention to. Big picture, you're not getting spooked out of small pullbacks and stuff like that. This has been a great move this year. Far as today, my notes, a new high was established. 581 target was hit. We were looking for that. We actually closed up around 584.59. Pretty bullish. Next target is 590 by 600. Support is 550 by 515. And your close support for this week is 568. The next thing that I want to be looking at is QQQ. And same thing, as you can guess, not as bullish as the SPY, but my notes, price has finally closed above the proximal line of the supply zone, which was 493.71. We went over that last week. And as long as we could stay over this, I'm really excited. All right. So right here is what I'm talking about. This was the supply zone that, we found many, many moons ago, and it's just taking forever to get up there. Once we hit the supply, price did pull back. It came into our inside and up formation. There we found buyers. And what I really like about this again is that we are closing over the proximal level. And that's a really good sign. So as long as this week can close up over 493.71, then I'm looking for price to move up into 503. Matter of fact, the probability suggests about a 95% chance now that we're going to come up and hit the all-time high. But again, I say that price needs by Friday. So this is a weekly thing. I need to see that price can hold over the 493.71. All right. So again, very bullish. Things look great. Your new support price can hold. Let's see, very high probability of a new 2024 high. I just went over that. 485 and 476 are your close support, and our target for right now is coming in at around 505, and then above that is 524. All right. Next thing that I want to go ahead and take a look at is the US dollar. The reason why we take and keep an eye on this is, typically if it's moving up, the markets get a little choppy. Markets look to come down a little bit. So we want to have an understanding what the charts look like on the dollar. It did come into the demand zone. We've been talking about this for months. Price did bounce out of there. Price on the weekly, I want to pay attention to a little bit bigger time frame now. We've gone up for 3 weeks. But if you notice, if we zoom in here, we're actually coming into a little bit of supply. And this is also confluent with the 618 or the golden Fibonacci. You can see that price actually closed right over the weekly cloud. And because of that, I want to say that caution is warranted that the market could be choppy, another kind of premium crush type of week until proven otherwise. Also, from a Fibonacci standpoint, between the 50 and the 618, I do expect chop in here. So my notes, guys, I expect chop and digestion in the dollar between 102.2 and 104.2. Let's go ahead and take a look at the TNX. Not a whole lot. This is the 10-year Treasury to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. We moved out of demand. We've moved close to supply. I'm not really concerned about this unless we start to move up over this supply zone, which is around 4.3. So once again, I'm just expecting a little bit of choppiness and digestion, especially because we're right here into earnings season, and a lot of investors are just sitting back and waiting for to see, the fundamental analysis, the news, what tells them to feel a little bit more confident in their stocks and so forth. Speaking of, I just ran into my neighbor yesterday, and he is just the happiest person in the world. He's like, man, I can't believe it. Every time I look at my portfolio, my 401 things are just amazing. He's like, I'm feeling like I could just retire in the next couple years and maybe just not do anything. And I was like, wow, that must be awesome. So, anyways, if that gives you any kind of sentiment, the skew, let's talk about the skew. If we come over here, and the skew, we came in at 155.55, down about 4 points. But again, another sign to say, hey guys, be a little cautious here, okay? When we're up towards these levels, we always see that markets pull back a little bit. I wish we were going closer into this earnings season with a skew down here, because this has been a great area to buy and basically, risk off type of or risk on type of environment. So I would really like to see the market go sideways to down over the next week or two, and get us into here. But I don't always get what I want, and the market's super pumped, it's super happy, and there's a lot of synergy coming in. Like I said, if the IWM RTY can make a new high and establish that new high with a base above it, and the Nasdaq can push up towards the highs, guys, we have the ES futures, the SPY, we have the Dow Jones, right, DIA, and then we have these two, the IWM, RTY, and the NASDAQ. If you can get all of those in sync, making all-time highs in the market, watch out. Then the synergy comes in, and then we see these explosive moves. A lot of traders have been like, hey, it's a little overbought or things are a little too extended. But honestly, with the NASDAQ being kind of a laggard here and just going sideways for the last several months, all right, and then you're looking at the IWM, which could make a new all-time high. Forget all these numbers I'm showing you. It could get extremely bullish. So we are setting up for an extremely bullish end of the year run. I just want to see that synergy come in, and we happen to be right here where the numbers are showing us on the skew, the dollar, the TNX. Just a little bit of caution is warranted, okay? It's a if this, then that type of scenario. So we just need some numbers to kind of come true, and I'm going to show you that here in a few minutes looking at futures, okay? So again, guys, a little bit of caution here. I like to see the skew actually come down towards 145 to 135, somewhere in there. Moving on, fear and greed index. We can take a look there. We are at extreme greed. So you take some of the things that I told you about, saying, hey, listen, it's extremely greedy. You guys are greedy, right? This means that the majority of participants are on the call side. And, they're at this point, they're thinking, hey, man, I could come into the market with a blindfold on and just take a call position or just pick my favorite stock and it'll go up. And you get complacent. And when we get complacent and the majority of participants are on the long side, guess what? They like to come in and pull the rug. All right. So, again, just understand that. And this, again, warrants a little bit of caution coming into this week. Okay. Next thing that we want to be taking a look at, let me make sure that I have everything. Okay, good. We're going to head into the futures. So this is one of my favorite parts. I love the futures. I love to use the futures in order to kind of guide my week to week basis. Like, is the ES futures coming into demand? Is the ES futures at a supply zone? Those type of things. This chart is the same chart I've been going over for the last several weeks with you guys. We had fib extensions. We hit that at 59.19. We pulled back. I would expect that. Remember, my big note here on the ES futures is that we have no structure up and to the left. Therefore, we are using Fibonacci extensions as targets. They work really well. You guys can see that. A few things have changed. Immediate support 58.27 by 57.43. Our bull channel from 422 to current date is right here. So again, lots of support in this move up. We also have the 9 EMA cloud. All of this is very confluent. It makes me super bullish, but it also makes me super bullish if we were to get a pullback. I want to be buying in here. So again, all these levels, jot them down on your weekly chart. Make sure that you annotate and you save this, just like I've taught you guys in the beginning. This is a weekly chart, and notice when I hit the arrow here, it'll take me into a daily chart. It's got different levels. You save it as a separate chart, and this shows you our daily triggers. So resistance now, we're going to use the trendy edge this week at 59.21. Short trigger, again, this is not a blind short trigger. Price gets there. We look for several things on a smaller time frame to get short. And same thing, we have our buy triggers down here, guys. We look to go long, not blind long. There's a couple things we look at. If you want to see that, come and hang out with us. We'll teach you that. While I'm talking about that, don't forget to hit the like button. I really, really appreciate your support. I love doing this for you guys, and I hope that it helps you out. Let's move on to the 4 hour. This is what it looks like. Again, didn't change a whole lot. We have some zones on here. Price comes down into the zone. Look to be a buyer. If we close below there, caution. And then if we get down to this one, same thing. I'm a buyer. And if we close down below there, obviously it didn't work. Okay. So again, that's your 4 hour. We have Fibonacci extensions to the upside, 37, 56, 75, 6005. Let's go ahead and move on to the Nasdaq futures. Okay. And just so you guys know, these are the charts that we place in here and we come back to those, and these are the like major levels. Every day in the trendy room, we trade ES and NASDAQ futures, or we give your trigger long from an intraday perspective, and we give targets and all that fun jazz. And those blueprints look like this. We have the liquidity chop, we have zones that we want to get long at, and I share this right here in the room every single day. All right. And then when the market opens, we have what's called the PMZ, the pre-market zone, that we use to trade intraday, and we use these zones as well. All right. All right. So back to the NASDAQ. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Same thing. We're going to start here on the weekly. You guys can see prices pushed up into the supply zone. It rejected. Now, again, the QQQ is holding above its proximal line, whereas the NASDAQ is off a little bit here. It is not holding above. If we can get the NASDAQ to hold above 20,574, same thing as the QQQ, things look a lot better for prices to push up towards the increments or the quarter increments in here. These will be your targets inside the zone. And as long as we're underneath this zone, please be cautious. And even if we get over the proximal line, you want to be cautious. You want to be careful inside a supply zone, but just know we can continue to push up towards these levels. It's not until we establish a base above the supply zone that I feel really good. And who knows? Earnings season can push us above there, and we could look to break out to all-time highs. If for some reason earnings season's not that great and people look for, a reason to sell off the market, then I would be a buyer down here towards 20,094 by 19,775. Let's move on. This is the daily, same thing, triggers on here. Go ahead and write those down. We have resistance at 20,622, a short trigger at 21,131. But again, this is just up towards the high, if you will. Be careful here. Earnings season, again, this is not a blind trigger. All right, so earnings, say we get some reports. The market is extremely bullish. I would not be trying to short this on or after a report. I believe this happened a couple quarters ago when we did make those highs. Price just kept moving and moving and moving. So be careful. Again, this is not a blind trigger. This is something I would much rather focus on during trading hours, not after the market, after earnings hit and say it's super bullish. Just ignore this trigger. This is for intraday regular trading hours, okay? Down here, trigger longs, you guys can see the numbers, same thing. Not a blind trigger, something we use on a smaller time frame to get long at these levels, okay? Same thing, 4 hour, we have zones, guys, same zones that we used last week. You can see it worked really, really well. That is the proof of concept that I show every single day. Our levels work really, really well. Price came down into demand. We found buyers, and we're just basically stuck between two opposing zones. So all I mean is we're about 50% between two zones. So we're kind of stuck here until we're not. That's the if this, then that. If price gets above here, great. If price gets back down below here, buy. We're just kind of stuck and kind of choppy. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about, right? I have Bitcoin myself. I have Ethereum. I have some Doge, stuff like that. And so I use the Bitcoin futures just like I use the ES and the Nasdaq. This is really my guide, if you will. And I've been extremely bullish on Bitcoin over the last several weeks. And basically, it came down to, hey guys, as long as we hold the green zones, we're staying bullish all the way up until supply. Well, guess what? We hit supply on Friday. Now, far as like over the weekend action, I haven't been paying attention. I just know that my Robinhood account, where I trade the futures, sorry, Bitcoin and Ethereum, um, it's telling me 2 hours ago Ethereum is now above 2,700. Let me look here, and it's saying, let's see. So it's showing Ethereum at 2697 right now, and then and Bitcoin's just sitting over here at 68,500 and some change. So pretty much flat at the moment. So we hit that supply zone. So this is where I would expect, basically that's what I mean is a lot of euphoria comes into supply zones and then we'll see it kind of stall. If it pulls back, look to buy it or at least just watch it. At 23.6 to about 40% if it comes back, meaning this candle, if you were to measure it with Fibonacci's, then I would expect it to support around there, so around 67,000. Up and over the supply zone, this is a big deal. If we get above here, not only are you getting above this supply, but you're making a new pivot high. So when you look at this type of stuff, just kind of take you back to old school teachings, you're looking at these pivots, right? And we're making lower highs and higher lows. Okay. This is a sideways trend for right now. But as soon as price can establish a new high, that's a very bullish move for me. So again, I like to see this, even if it comes back. Most likely you get a lot of technical traders that try to short this. But as long as we can hold that 67,000 level or so, then I think we shoot right back up and then we establish a base above this. Now we're talking about, everyone's going to be talking about the 2024 looking for a new high. And again, guys, I think we could push up here towards 80 to 100,000. So that's my Bitcoin analysis for this week. That's my overall broad market analysis. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I can't wait to trade with you. Again, short week for me, but that doesn't mean we can't hit the road running. So can't wait to see you in the room. Be ready 30 minutes before the market open. Melissa and I will go over our trades and everything else. Have an amazing day.